Good morning, everybody. This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today. Last night, after Monday Night Raw, there was an episode of Legends with JBL, and on the show was Ron Simmons. I think that everybody can tell from watching Monday Night Raw last night with the big segment that they did on Mark Henry and Black History Month. WWE has always put a lot into doing a lot of things for Black History Month, whether if it's Teddy Long looking into the Martin Luther King poster, trying to gain strength and find a way to be a leader of SmackDown back in the day. And this was a good show. Honestly, I will say that there were things that I saw on this episode that I liked. There were stories that I never heard of. As far as I know, Ron Simmons has never done a shoot interview with a High Spots or an RF video. I can't even think of him doing a podcast with Stone Cold Steve Austin or Chris Jericho. So, there's not a lot of things that I know about Ron Simmons. So, on one hand, I like this, but I didn't feel like this was must-see television. I think I rather would have seen, the Booker T or the Jimmy Hart or maybe even the Hall of Famer from the Fabulous Freebirds, Michael P.S. Hayes. I want to see those episodes, and I'll talk about those at the very end because that's how they ended off the episode, and that's going to be must-see television right there. But Ron Simmons talks about, in his early parts of his life, the things that gave him strength, to go on and be the famous football player that he was, to go on and be the famous wrestler that he was that, basically he was living his life, and all of a sudden, I can't remember how old he was, but he was old enough to have a memory of this, as he was dropped off at his grandma's house, and basically his dad told him, hey, be good, listen to your grandma, I'm going to the store, I'm going to get some stuff. And then the motherfucker never came back. I don't even know how he could do that. And Ron Simmons said that he didn't see his dad for, I believe, like 20 years. And I'm hoping it wasn't like a big reunion. You're always going to have a place for your dad, but your dad walked out on you and left you for 20 years. 20 years later, he would have been an All-American football player. I think he'd be getting into wrestling at this time. So, is he just coming around because the guy's got money? You always got to be wondering, what is the reason for this? But from there, basically, Ron Simmons would go on and play football, being an All-American recruit, playing in Georgia, where basically, he went on some college visits. Everybody thought that he was going to go to UGA to play for the Bulldogs. Basically he was recruited by Bobby Bowden from FSU, where he basically said that, they greased his palm. He took a payday, and he went down there and he went to FSU to become, a runner-up to the Heisman, playing, I believe he played nose tackle, which is on the defensive line, which is unheard of when it comes to football. It shows you how good of a football player Ron Simmons was. He went on to have his number retired, put into the College Football Hall of Fame. There was lots and lots of great stories about him playing football for FSU. But I think everybody got more interested as you were going along and they started talking about wrestling. It was actually Lex Luger who talked to Ron Simmons, who basically told him that he was wrestling for Florida Championship Wrestling at the time. And Matsuda, the same guy who would go on to train Hulk Hogan. Everybody knows the famous story about Matsuda breaking Hulk Hogan's leg when they started training back in the day, and basically Ron Simmons basically looked at it as a way to make money. He got into wrestling. He started training. From there, he was picked up by WCW. They talk about him being They talk about him being the first a black heavyweight champion, and they talk about this breaking down barriers, like Jackie Robinson, playing baseball and things like that, and I don't know. This was thought up by Dusty Rhodes, and I think Dusty Rhodes sort of looked at as Ron Simmons more than just a black athlete and sort of breaking down a color barrier. I think that with, Ron Simmons and his, collegiate football past, they were playing up the part that he, was an FSU star. It was getting his name out there, him getting a big win over Vader, with that power slam. I think was a good way to shine light on WCW, thinking that all of the sports highlight reels that love to play Ron Simmons highlights when he was at FSU would probably play the highlight of him beating Vader, becoming the World Heavyweight Champion, and playing up on the part of that. I don't think it really had to do with them trying to break down these walls in wrestling and things like that. But he gets into wrestling. He does this. He talks a lot about him tag teaming with JBL, saying that was some of the best times of his life. Basically, the APA came to be because Vince McMahon, who would be checking into the WWE hotel, would always go by and see Ron Simmons and Bradshaw sort of bullshitting at the bar. And one night he came up to him and he bought him a shot and said, "Enjoy your night, gentlemen." And the next day at television, basically told them that they were going to put them together as the APA, guys that be hanging around, bullshitting, telling stupid stories backstage, and drinking beer. And Bradshaw would basically say that, there were no gimmicks. It was real beer, and there was nothing to it. He even talks about a story of one time they were in LA at the Staples Center, and basically the guy that was shooting the segment with APA basically said, "All right, you got to do this on the next take. You have to get this one. You have to nail it." And he goes, "Oh, why? Are we doing this live?" Because no, you're drunk and you're starting to slur your words. But they talk about how easy and how simple the APA was. They put over the fact at the door. Just great. Bradshaw tells the story of basically Vince Russo coming to them and basically telling them that he would never let Bradshaw cut a promo because he spoke with a Southern accent, and there's no way that anyone can be smart who talks with a Southern accent. So basically what the plan was the APA was going to go out on the stage and they were going to challenge Big Show and Undertaker to a fight, because that's what they did, but they were going to have Ron Simmons deliver the promo. And as the APA came walking out on the stage, Ron Simmons had the microphone, and right when it was time for him to speak, he just handed the microphone to Bradshaw. Bradshaw delivered the promo, and because, Ron Simmons is a bad motherfucker, no one was going to say anything to him, and from there on out, Bradshaw was the man who spoke for the APA. They talked a little bit about, Farouk coming into WWF, and basically Vince McMahon seeing him as he was going to be a big gladiator. Ron Simmons starts talking about the fact that he thought he was going to wear one of those big sort of gladiator metallic suits that they would fight in back in the day. And, basically as he was going in to get fitted, they were putting this leather thing on him and they were measuring his head. And Ron Simmons goes, what are you going to do with that? And he goes, "Oh, this is what we're going to make the helmet out of. We're going to, put this helmet on you. We're going to paint it blue." And Ron Simmons just knew from there that Farouk, as the gladiator, was not going to go far. They didn't talk about Sonny. They didn't talk about the winning streak. They didn't really talk about anything other than that. They started talking about the Nation of Domination and basically, all the offsprings that shoot off of there. Ron Simmons sort of takes credit for starting off The Rock, basically saying that, it was Ron Simmons that would go to the guys, D-Lo, The Rock, and the Godfather, and basically say, "Shut your mouth. Know your role. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to deliver the promo, and that's it." And he just was horsing around, just, saying that's what they were going to do. And next thing you know, the Nation's out there delivering a promo to Ken Shamrock in the ring, and The Rock steps front with a microphone, and he goes, "Shut your mouth and know your role." And you can actually see Ron Simmons look at him like, "I can't believe that you just said that." It was something that they would say in the back, joking around. Farouk talks about the fact that it wasn't it wasn't all him. You know, he got the ball rolling with The Rock, but The Rock is the guy that has got it to the point where he is today. He deserves everything in the world that he has. They go into the fact of Ron Simmons talking about the fact that now he does a lot of bookings where he does a lot of autograph signings and pictures and sort of conventions and things like that. I haven't seen him added to WrestleCon yet, but he might just be there working access, and that just might be why. But he says he likes being a grandpa now in his days, and that's what he likes to do. But they leave us at the end of Legends of JBL, basically telling us that there's going to be future episodes, and in these future episodes, it's going to be Booker T, Michael Hayes, and Jimmy Hart. They talked to Jimmy Hart about the dying days at WCW and trying to get him to admit that Vince Russo was a bad booker. But Jimmy Hart never really says any bad things about anybody, so he's dodging the question left and right. Michael P.S. Hayes has a little quote basically saying that he didn't think that Gino Hernandez was murdered. Gino Hernandez did an overdose, that he was murdered. And he won't say those words, but he says that, use your words, not mine. I think he doesn't want somebody coming after him from those world-class championship wrestling days. And then basically the JBL asked Booker T what he thought after he heard Hulk Hogan's rant. And I think we all know what rant he's talking about. And Booker T's eyes just lit up huge, and I was like, I gotta see this. I want to see this bad. So I'm looking forward to 2 of the 3. I think the Jimmy Harts might be good, but I don't think it's going to be great. But I really am looking forward to that Booker T one, and I'm hoping that it's going to come sooner than later. I don't know why they're doing this Legends show, and last week they gave us, the riding in the car with superstars, whatever that show is called, and now they're going back to Legends. I wish that they would just give us one show on a night, no, Legends with JBL is going to air every Monday after Raw, or Tuesday at 8, or something like that, and this other show is going to be on another time, because, when they had Monday Night War, when they had, what was another one they had? They had Legends House. When they had shows and it was going to be on a certain date and a certain time, everybody knew to watch them. And now it's just sort of like they'll tell us when we're watching Raw what we're going to watch at the end if we turn on the network. There's no real sort of structure to WWE Network, and I think that's something that they need.